Okay, so welcome to my session on this Piwik PRO Day, um, the first ever digital event for the Piwik PRO community. And thank you, Marcin, for the invitation. Please, during my session, feel free to ask questions, and I'm happy to answer them in the Q&A chat after my session. And before I go into the details about what I will show you today, just let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Martin Frotzler. I'm Director Digital Analytics at the consulting agency mohrstade. And who is mohrstade exactly? We are an independent consulting agency based in Munich, Vienna, Berlin, and we focus on marketing technology, everything from data collection, analytics to data visualization. And we work with Piwik PRO for quite some time now. We have great projects with our clients, and I'm happy to share some of the insights that we have generated over time with you today. So the title of this session is a rather long one, but we can easily unwrap this into two topics. Basically, at the first part, I want to talk about unique insights. So what can you do with Piwik PRO that you maybe cannot do in the same way with other tools? So what makes it unique? And how do we use it for generating unique insights? And then how can you make those insights uh, broadly available to an audience by connecting API solution to Piwik PRO and building dashboards that can be used to activate those insights for actionability. So let's go right into it. So what I want to show you today, or basically tell you, is focused around the advertising journey. So back in the day, before we usually faced those consent banners that we see today, we were very much focused on this 360-degree view on the advertising journey. What do I mean with that is if you pay for your advertisement, you usually have advertisements running on Facebook or Google Ads or Instagram, platforms like that. And you generate data there. So you know from the reportings that you can access there, how many impressions did you get, how many clicks, what did the clicks cost, and so on. So you get a good picture about the quantity of interactions you were able to generate with your advertising, but you get a not so good picture about the quality. So the question is then not how many clicks did we generate, but also additionally, how good was the quality and what did happen after those clicks. And for that, we usually combine this with the on-site data, which means that we take a look at how many clicks did we generate, but also what did happen after that. Did we generate actually sessions with those clicks? And what did happen in those sessions? Did we get valuable engagement, or even maybe users made a purchase in the same session? And nowadays, we face a measurement gap because we are living in a more privacy centric world, which is a good thing, but it introduces certain challenges. So um, now, after a click on an advertisement, if we want to bring the user onto the website, on a product page or on a landing page, first the user has to interact with the consent banner. And this changes the situation because we usually, if we are only allowed, for example, with Google Analytics to track when the user gives us the consent, then this creates a measurement gap where we do not really can do this analysis, where we do not really can combine offsite and onsite data to evaluate the quality of the clicks that we are generating in our advertisement. And Piwik PRO has two features that help us with this. So, as I mentioned now, the first interaction after a click is the consent banner. And with the anonymous tracking this Piwik PRO offers, we can then start measuring directly after the user has made the click and is visiting the session. And the first interactions that happens then are usually a consent banner interaction, so the consent banner impression, as well as the consent decision, so that the user fully accept the consent or deny the consent or anything between. And if the user gives us the consent, we can do pseudonymous tracking, so we can re-identify the user, and if not, we can still get this valuable last click attribution with the campaign. So those two features, anonymous tracking and the integration of consent information into Piwik, are the pillars so that we can use to get this 360-degree view back, even in a privacy-centric world, in a privacy-centric way. And so how, when we talk about the click intent, so why did people actually interact with the advertising? We can differentiate certain possibilities. So, for example, the best case is someone clicks on the ad and does this on purpose because what is shown on the ad is of actual interest, and the user wants to interact with the product or the brand and visit the website and get more information. And that's the ideal case. And we can then, with anonymous tracking and the tracking of consent signals, we can then integrate this and see, okay, we measure the consent banner impression, we measure the decision, and after that, some form of engagement. And if we measure this with a click, we can derive from that the click intent is actually high, so that the user has clicked on purpose. Even if the engagement is lower, if we get this interaction with the consent banner, this is already a valuable interaction. So also if the user may bounce and visit just a landing page, we can still derive from that the user clicked on purpose. And it gets interesting when we see things like then consent banner impression, but nothing happens afterwards. So we measured something, we measured a session, but we can derive from this that the click intent was actually low. So maybe this was a misclick, or maybe even a machine. So you may know from your own experience, if you scroll on your mobile device and you read an article and a banner pops up, a misclick can happen. And it can also happen that you quickly close the window after that and you do not measure anything. So also this could be the case. So instead of this measurement gap, Piwik allows us to, with anonymous tracking and consent signals used together, that we can get this 360-degree view on the customer back, and we can evaluate the quality of the clicks and not only the quantity. So what this means is that we can calculate a new engagement value, which we can call the no decision rate. So we can focus on a new kind of engagement, which is the consent banner interaction, and especially focus in on those users that saw the banner impression but did not really interact with it. So really, really low engagement, and most probably users that didn't visit our website on purpose. And in combination with the advertising, it tells us much information about the click quality. And we can use this as a calculated metric where we say, okay, we calculate the so-called no decision rate, where we take all the sessions where no consent decision was made, but we had a banner impression, as a ratio to all the sessions. Similar to like a bounce rate, but even as a new kind of engagement measurement, because it's the first interaction that the user has with our website. And this allows us to identify marketing activities that do not actually generate engagement, and allows us to, for example, challenge the agencies with which we work together. Because there's sometimes a conflict because agencies have the goal to report good numbers to tell you they have made a good campaign, and they often optimize on the volume of clicks and not so much on the quality. And if we are able to also additionally measure the quality of clicks, we can then optimize our marketing engagement together with the agency and set certain standards and benchmarks for those metrics to be able to increase the quality of the traffic we buy and optimize, reduce the waste of clicks, for example, because the advertisement was really not that well placed or wasn't relevant, and so on. And therefore, we can have a much better picture of the actual advertising interactions that we are dealing with. And we can calculate this no decision rate in our reporting. And that's where the data integration part comes in. And how can you do that? How can you then get such an insight out of Piwik PRO? So basically, you have different kind of APIs. So you have the reporting API, which gives you aggregated data. And then, which I especially like, is the raw data API, which means that you can get via API event level log data for each event, each session that happened. And then you can model that data to your own needs. And for example, then generate insights that you maybe are not possible with the user interface, or maybe you want to combine that data. And ideally, if you want to continuously and regularly work with the raw data, you have then the option to get the data exported by Piwik into your favorite data warehouse, like for example in Azure, in BigQuery, or in Amazon, or your own SFTP server. And you can, of course, do manual exports. But usually when we're talking about reports and dashboards, we want the best possible automatization. And for the different BI solutions that we're talking today, so basically they use this differently. For example, Looker Studio is focused on the reporting API. And of course, if I have the raw data exports in BigQuery, I can easily access them with Looker Studio. I can also use the Google Sheets integration with Piwik to use both the reporting API as well as the raw data API, and as well as if I have the data in BigQuery, for example, connect this directly via Google Sheets. And in Power BI, I can use all of those. So I can use as well the reporting API, raw data, and data warehouses. And in Tableau, I need to use the data warehouse exports. So then let's jump right into it and take a look how this works. So what I will do is I will show you how you can calculate this no decision rate that I mentioned directly based on the raw data. Why do I want to use the raw data in this case? So in Piwik currently, as we see the consent reporting, so we are here in the demo data, and we can measure, as I mentioned, the form impressions of the consent and which consent decisions we had. But this is only based on the event level. And what I would like to do is I want to see this on a session level. So if people reload, multiple consent form impressions are measured, then these no decisions are currently on event level hard to combine with your marketing data, but we can use the raw data API to look at each individual session and then get this no decision rate calculated. And I will show how this works in Power BI. I've already authenticated. If you want to authenticate any API, you usually do this by going to your profile, and then you can create an API key. And this API key will allow you to access the raw data API as well as the reporting data API. And so let's do this live in Power BI. So what I've done here is I've authenticated with our demo site. And here you can see that I can select the raw data API as well as the reporting API. And for calculating the sessions where we had no consent decision, which I will want to focus on, I need the event table and I need certain information which I can select here with the Power BI integration of Piwik PRO. So I can select a start date and an end date, and I can select basically any information that Piwik collects. But of course, I only want to select those informations that I need for my use case. And this is based on, so I want all the marketing information. So where does the traffic come from? Which campaign, which source, medium combination, and so on. So this is what I select here. And then I also need the event type because it will tell me, for example, if an event was a product detail view, an order, a page view, and this is the important part here, if a consent impression was shown on the consent decision and in which order those events happened. So I have all the data on the most granular level available via this API. And I just need to do a short transformation. So because I want to set the IDs as text fields. So this is just a short transformation that I can do directly in Power BI. And the nice thing is now that I can, if I load in the data, I can basically load gigabytes of data from the raw data API into analysis on that. If, as mentioned, you want to work with this on a regular basis, you would prefer usually to not do this via the API, but rather use the data warehouse exports. But you can do, for example, an ad hoc analysis of a single campaign or a shorter time frame easily as well with this raw data API. So what now happens is I have requested basically the fields that I need. It will now connect to the API and it will import the data into Power BI, and then now I can work with it. So we saw that about 25,000 rows we've downloaded, and now I can start working with this data and how does this look like. So I do not have just basically an information about how many sessions did I have, but or how many events, but rather each session and each event is in a single table. So that's basically how raw data works. So let's take a look how this works, how this looks like. So I have a session ID. Each session has a unique ID. And I can also have an event ID and an event index, which basically already gives me certain events, and then we have an event type. So now I can see in for each session which events happened in those sessions. And for the use case, I'm interested in the sessions that had a consent banner impression, but did have no decision at all, no page view or anything. So this is what I want to calculate. And for this, I have prepared a calculation for Power BI, which I need to open here. And of course, I will share that with you. So you will get the presentation. You can try this out in Power BI yourself, of course. So what I want to do, I want to take a look at the sessions with no decisions. What does that mean? So I want to take a look at each session ID and calculate was there at least one consent form impression, but in the same session, no consent decision. This would be a session with no decision, so lowest possible engagement. And I'm interested to analyze this in terms of my marketing campaigns so that I can identify if marketing campaigns are sending generating much clicks, but not really valuable sessions. So let's copy this over, and in Power BI, I can now create a so-called measure, which is basically a calculation based on the data that I have imported, and I will just copy this code over and pull this in. And what we can now see is we can take a look at the amount of sessions we had. For that, I want to make a distinct count of the sessions. So we had about 2,000 sessions in the time frame that I have imported. And now I want to know how many of those sessions were really low engaged, right? So the user just opened the website, saw the content banner and left. And for this, I can use this calculation. And we see that we have 137 sessions, one of those 2,000, that were really low engaged. And now I'm interested in the relationship, like a bounce rate. We can now calculate a no decision rate, and that is now easy. So I can say my no decision rate is the sessions with no decision divided by the distinct count of session IDs, which is the total amount of sessions. And we want this to be a percentage. And now I can also pull this in and we see that about 7% of our sessions had this really low engagement, so no interaction at all, just visiting the content banner. And now where it gets interesting is if I combine this information with my marketing activities, and let's do that based on source medium, for example. So we could say, so now I combine the source medium of my traffic with this no decision rate. And now I get a good picture from all the sources where my traffic is coming from and which quality this traffic actually has, right? So not only can I evaluate clicks, so for that I would additionally need to pull in, for example, the information from Facebook or Google Ads, which clicks I generated. So for this example, let's keep it easy and simple. And so we're looking at traffic sources and the no decision rate. And we see that on average, we have 7%, but we have certain traffic sources where we have a much higher rate. So this is like about 17% here, 15% and so on. So there are sources with a much higher rate. And then I can also introduce kind of benchmarks and to control basically what I have in my marketing campaigns. I can say, for example, I could use a certain coloring. So I could, for example, say if the no decision rate, let's select this here as a rule, has a certain value or a certain threshold, this is not acceptable maybe for me. And then I can, let's say, like let's set it at 15%, for example. And I can say, okay, then I want to highlight this in my reporting, right? So give me all the campaigns and traffic sources that have a higher limit. And for example, if I have an advertorial running on Forbes here, and I see that the no decision rate is one of the highest of all my traffic, then I can challenge this and ask the question, why is the traffic of such low quality, and why are the clicks that are generating on that advertorial maybe not that good in what they do as in the end when they generate a session, right? So yeah, so this is I will share, of course, the calculations that I've done and the fields that I'm importing. And if you're using Piwik PRO, you can try this for free because you can download Power BI Desktop, which costs nothing, and you can follow the guideline that is available by Piwik how to connect Power BI to your API, use the raw data API, and take a look at your marketing campaigns at the no decision rate and see if you can get those insights out of the raw data. And so that's basically what I wanted to show. And the last 5 minutes, I also want to show the, you can also do the same in Google Sheets. So basically, you have some restriction, of course, of the amount of data you can import into a Google Sheet. But if you want, for example, analyze a single day and just take a look at certain sessions, and then you can also use Google Sheets, and you can see the principle is the same. Basically, you first authenticate by providing those API credentials, and then you can access the raw data on a session level and on an event level, as well as API queries. So what you can do, for example, is which is a little bit hidden, and I'd like to show you. If you just want to get bring in just any report over, you can use this feature here. So if you have, for example, the pages report, we can get the API call definition here. So we get some kind of code. So this is basically a JSON. We can copy that to the clipboard and then use the Piwik PRO API query and just basically paste this in here. So it says enter your query. And this is meant really to copy over what you see in the UI, and then it will define everything for you. You just should maybe extend the limit a little bit so you get more than 10 rows, and then you can easily bring any report you see in the UI over to a Google Sheet and continue working with it. Okay, so I think that's what I wanted to show today. So as a wrap up, I think that the combination of consent reporting and anonymous tracking gives new insights and new data points that we can use in combination with the marketing activities to get insights about the quality of the marketing interactions we pay for. And it really helps then to challenge the media agencies or any other agencies that is doing the advertising for us, who may be optimizing on click volume to focus on actually the quick click quality instead of just generating a high click rate and then giving us a good report and telling us, hey, this campaign was really great, when rather it was maybe not really actual people that were visiting us on purpose. So I think it is important to bring back this 360-degree view, and the features that Piwik is offering are giving us the possibility to do that, and that is something I think we should use as a KPI in the reporting to optimize the marketing spend. And if you want to do this yourself, I will share the whole presentation with the fields that you need to import from the raw data API, with the calculation in Power BI, so that you can try this yourself and generate these insights your own. And of course, I will be there for questions, and let's have a good discussion afterwards.